Jai Hind, everyone. Now, amidst the claims of the US president that they have undertaken control of the Strait of Hormuz, the bigger questions are being now put forward. First and foremost, how US has been able to control the Strait of Hormuz, and second bigger question is what are the Iranian guards doing at this time? So even when it is very clear that the war is on, but the American forces are now able to coordinate and protect around 15 to 20 oil tankers across the southern lane of the Strait of Hormuz, that is near the Omani border. Now, essentially, what is this? The few analysts have been calling it a secret oil corridor that has been created through the Strait of Hormuz. But is it really a secret oil corridor, or is it the US forces that have been able to establish the operational control over a part of the Strait of Hormuz? So essentially, as it has been called, the United States military has been able to establish a covert operation to help move oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, in this situation, with American forces coordinating and protecting the commercial shipping lane across the southern route near the Oman, okay, and it is said that the entire operation is being supervised by the US headquarters, and it is aimed to keep the crude oil flowing from the Persian Gulf despite the ongoing conflict with Iran and repeated threats to commercial shipping in the strategic waterways. Now, whatever the case may be, but the US has been able to facilitate the movement of 15 to 20 oil tankers daily, mostly during the night. Now, this is essentially a big step, okay, or what we can call it a big operational control that has been established by the US so as to keep a check upon the global crude oil prices. So today we will understand the backstory on how the Trump administration has been able to facilitate the movement of this oil tankers just under the nose of Iran. And we will also see that this is not just a military strategy, it is the invisible thread that has been able to keep a check upon the global gas prices and the prices of the crude oil from skyrocketing. So now when we move further, we need to understand that what essentially is the core factor. Okay. So the US military has been able to establish a low profile protected shipping corridor through the southern lane of the Strait of Hormuz, which is very close to the Oman coast. Okay. Now, they have been able to facilitate movement of 15 to 20 oil tankers transit each night in the organized convoys. And this is roughly 10 million barrels per day, which is about half of the pre-war volume. Okay. Moreover, some nights they have been able to take out more in numbers, but on an average, they have been able to facilitate the movement of around 15 to 20 oil tankers. Now, if we have to put this into perspective, the 10 million barrels, it is roughly two-thirds of Russia's total daily oil export, and it is essentially half of what used to flow during the pre-war times. Okay, so imagine in today's situation 15 to 20 massive tankers, each of the size of a tall skyscraper building, sneaking through a 21-mile wide strait every single night. Now, this scale is staggering. Okay, but there have been instances that on busy nights, they have also been able to move somewhere over 20 million barrels. So that is enough oil to basically power the entire Europe for a day. So this is not a trickle, this is a flood, and it is happening in near total silence, and we must give this credit to United States. But how it has been having, let us see this. Okay, so how it is working, it is coordinated by the US task force, which is based at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and it is the nerve center of the special operations. It daily manifests scheduled inbound empty as well as the loaded tankers in tightly controlled convoys, and it is being supported by the US armed forces. Okay, now the US fighter jets, they provide continuous air cover against the Iranian drones and the cruise missiles, and it also applies to both loaded tankers leaving the Gulf and empty ones which is coming back into it. So the bigger question is why it has been maintained through the Fort Bragg. Okay, so this is not a type of a naval exercise. It is a full-fledged joint special operation task force that has been created. So they are effectively acting as a high-tech air traffic controllers for the world's most dangerous waterway. And the clever part here is that they are not just protecting the outgoing tankers, they are also coordinating and they are protecting the inbound empty tankers which are coming in. Because uh, if they have not, if they do not protect the empty tankers, the loading terminals will have to shut down and the whole pipeline would end up drying. Okay, so in this situation, it is the US F-16s which are also providing a fly top cover, and they are ready to intercept the Iranian drones, the Iranian missiles, and it is a logistical what we can say, it is a logistical ballet with $1 billion at stakes in every single movement. So if we need to understand more that how these actions have been enabled, okay, so we need to see that these are not happening overnight. Okay, they are preceded by the US Central Command campaign that systematically degraded Iran's radar and maritime surveillance. So it is not that everything has been planned overnight. Okay, before running this special operation, the US Central Command had done a dry run for almost 2 weeks to blind the enemy. Okay, now this is blinding operation and it reduced Iran's ability to track commercial shipping in the region. And US officials claim that they have effective operational control over the southern lane for roughly 2 months, and they are careful to note that this is not legal sovereignty. Okay, so this does not happen overnight. They took out the radar sites and the surveillance systems. Okay, so it is a well-planned move from United States. Okay, and they had pulled in all the plugs on Iran's security cameras. Okay, they very well know that Iran has got thousands of missiles, thousands of drones, but if they cannot see the targets, those missiles are useless. So by degrading the surveillance system, okay, US now has been able to create a window of opportunity for the entire oil trade to facilitate. Okay, now in this situation, US very well knows, okay, and the US does not stake claim over the waters. They just claim that the right to keep it moving is under us. Okay, and they have held the control for 2 months now. But the bigger question is that for how long can they sustain this? Okay, now why does this matter and why US is taking so much of chance? Okay, now it keeps critical Gulf oil, okay, from Saudi, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain flowing despite the ongoing conflict. Moreover, it also limits Iran's leverage. Now, Tehran can no longer use the strait as an economic chokehold to blackmail the entire world. Moreover, it also eases the global supply pressure and prevents the war from triggering a catastrophic oil price spike. Okay, so the bigger question is that why should an average person care? Now, because if this corridor falls, okay, then we are not just looking at a spike at the any ordinary gas pump, but we are looking at a global recession. Now, Iran's favorite tactic is to threaten the entire world by blackmailing them around the Strait of Hormuz. But by quietly taking control of the southern lane, US has effectively stolen the weapon from Iran's hand to blackmail the entire world. And this is something that is buying the critical time for the entire world to function smoothly. Okay. Now, we can also see that in this situation, okay, now US officials are also speaking up in a very calculated manner. Okay, they called the Revolutionary Guards a nuisance. Okay, and they do not acknowledge them as existential threat. Now that is a deliberate, dismissive, psychological ecosystem that has been created. Okay, and US clearly says that we are not afraid of the Iran. Okay. Moreover, President Trump has also been dropping subtle hints publicly without revealing that how they have been able to conduct the entire operation. Okay. So on one side, we can see that there are news headlines and everything, everyone screaming about the battles and diplomacy. But 15 to 20 tankers per night convoy is the real story about how the US has been able to manage the energy crisis around the world and how US has been able to do it behind the scenes. Okay. But in this situation also, there are a few bigger questions that needs to be answered. Okay. Now, the first question here is that what is the secret route really? Okay. Now, is this really a secret route? Okay. So we have to be very clear that US has not built a physical bypass around the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what US military has done is quietly establishing operational control over the southern shipping lane of the Strait of Hormuz, and they have been able to establish a protected corridor in that region without having to establish a parallel route. Okay, so they have just established a protected shipping corridor through the southern lane of Strait of Hormuz, that is along the Oman's coast. Okay, now how it is working? Clear? Now this entire operation, okay, they are working like a special operation and military controlled convoys are moving. Okay, and everything is being coordinated from Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Okay, so they are running a special operation wherein they have been maintaining smooth journey of loaded as well as empty trucks. Okay. Moreover, the US fighter jets are providing complete air cover against the Iranian drones and the Iranian cruise missiles. Okay. Next question, how did this become possible? Clear? Now, this corridor was not created overnight. It was enabled by the coordinated and very calculated strategic move by the US Central Command. Okay. Now they have been able to systematically degrade Iran's radar and maritime surveillance capabilities, and they have been able to achieve this only after conducting a blinding operation. Okay. Next question is, does this bypass the strait? Okay. So bigger question is that have they been able to bypass the strait? Okay, so this can be learned in many ways. Okay, first, is US able to build a secret route? No, the route is still through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, now is the oil avoiding Strait of Hormuz completely? Now, again, this is wrong. They are just using the southern lane of the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, next big question is it a physical alternative? Okay, no, it is not a physical alternative to Strait of Hormuz, but it is a military protected corridor that has been created. Okay, and the US does not have a legal control over the Strait of Hormuz. They just have been able to establish operational control over the southern shipping lane, and that is not a sovereign right of the US. Okay, lastly, why can't they just bypass it? Now, this is again a bigger question. Now, on one side, we have been able to understand that how US has been doing it. Okay. So now the question is, why can't they just bypass it? Okay. You need to understand that Strait of Hormuz is the only maritime exit of Gulf. Okay. So this is handling 20% of global oil consumption and 25% of internationally traded oil. Okay. Moreover, the Strait of Hormuz is connecting the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea, so there is no alternative waterway that is physically existing. Okay. Now, countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, they are completely dependent on them. Okay. Now, there are alternative pipelines that have been existing, but they have very limited capacity. Okay. And they cannot replace the high volume of tanker traffic that is going through the Strait of Hormuz. Clear? So, this is just a protected corridor that has been created by the US, but this is a blessing in disguise for the entire world. Okay, so do let me know what all are your views on this. Moreover, I'm reminding you again that the admissions to our new batches are closing today. Okay, so do use the code SRM Live to avail maximum discount on all StudyIQ IAS courses, and all of these courses are based upon our smart model of preparation. And please do not forget to join me on my Telegram channel. Just scan this QR code and you will gain access to my Telegram channel, wherein I'll share all PDFs and all exam-oriented informations timely. Clear? So this was all from my side today. We'll see you all in the next session. Jai Hind.